Alright, so I didn't want to do this, per se. I kinda wanted to, because this is something that affects me personally, but I didn't feel like I should have to, because, you know, it's 2018, people are identifying as dogs, and people are saying, oh, that's absolutely fine. But they're still saying still saying this is the thing! I don't get it! I don't get it. So, I'm just gonna run through this with you, okay? Basically, I've seen some videos on it today, etc., you know. It's no big deal. You see it in the news all the time, like, oh, people are doing the floss in school. Everyone loves doing the floss. Everyone loves doing the, you know, I'm doing it right now, just so you know. Just doing a little swingy arm thing. I do a lot of hand gestures because kinesthetic and whatever. But yeah, basically, I'm just gonna run you through this, okay? Now, I'd like you to have a look at this picture up here first, okay? I don't have any, like, Jesus Christ, sorry, I've got a bit of a cold again. Right. This will happen a lot. But basically, what this picture shows is it says non-violent video game players, okay? And violent game players. Now, first of all, you can see there's obviously a difference with brain activity here. Or at least we're led to believe it's brain activity. You know, because we genuinely aren't told it's brain activity, we're just guessing that this is brain activity. Because if you have a look, Kristen Kalning has not actually told us what this is. So I'm calling you out, Kristen. Just saying. So in a recent research study, adolescents played two different types of video games for 30 minutes. Teens that played the violent video game, on the right, showed increased activity in the amygdala, which is involved in emotional arousal. Now, yes, that is true. However, okay, so it is brain activity, as we now know, so thank you, Kristen. So, it's still never explicitly said in the brain, but we'll let you off. You said the amygdala, that's in the brain, good job. So, as you can see here, violent game players. Now, emotional arousal. Now, instinctively, if you're playing GTA... Is somebody in the house? Hello? Some spooky shit right here. Honestly, so... I keep thinking someone's in the house. I'm pretty sure we have like a ghost or like some weird demon or something at this point. Like, I don't believe in ghosts, but I'm starting to believe it because my mom is supposed to be out for still, let's see how many hours? Alright, still got a few hours. I'll just put my phone in my shoe. But basically, as it shows here, it says that, you know, emotional arousal. Now, arousal can also be a sexual thing. Emotional, obviously, in this case, it adds emotion, you know, so excitement, fear, etc. So, already, when it says violent video games, it could be playing a horror game. Because, thinking about it, you know, horror games are usually quite violent. You got your Five Nights at Freddy's to kill you after just jamming you in a robotic suit, or probably something like that, unless someone debunks it or something. It's not a good game, don't go play it. I'm kidding, go play it if you want, but it's not my kind of game. But basically, like, if they went into GTA 5, they're not necessarily going to go around and kill things in it. Because it could also be a form of sexual arousal. Which in GTA, there just so happens to be strip clubs they can just go straight into. Just hire out a stripper, get lap dance, and walk out. I don't play GTA, by the way. So I don't really know much about GTA. But I do play a lot of video games to know this. If they were playing, let's say, Call of Duty, I have already got to a few minutes on this. So if they were playing something like Call of Duty, of course it's going to be emotional arousal. And that'll be frustration, because it's not an easy game to win, because you got people who will try hard. Like, how do I explain it? Right, you got those people who will just sit, this won't work if you don't play video games that much. You won't exactly understand it in the same way that we do, but it is very frustrating when you're running around, you know, you got a shotgun, it's a short range weapon, you're just firing it, you're like, oh yeah, I'm having some fun and I'm on a really long kill streak or something. I don't play much Call of Duty anymore, by the way. But then there's someone who's like, I shot you from this window, like about 100 meters from you, and you're like, oh no, all those things that I just got are all gone, or whatever, you know, you do with the new Call of Duty, because I don't play anymore. But still, like, how does this make... Of course, that could easily be frustration, or sexual arousal, or fear. That doesn't exactly mean it's anger. It just says emotional arousal. Hell, it could even be happiness. Like, the people that you could have chose could have literally been psychopaths, and to just say they were playing GTA 5, okay, because You gotta remember, it doesn't say what violent game they were playing, okay? If they were playing GTA 5 and all the people who happened to be in that group just so happened to be psychopaths, then of course this could easily be happiness derived from killing people. Probably not, but that's my point. So it could... You have a load of, like, factors here that don't make any sense. This is an old article, by the way. But I'm making my point. This is 2000, and I can barely read that. I think that's a 6. Yeah. And if this is American, it was done on the 8th of December. But I think it could have been the 12th of... Shit, now I need to remember the months. October is 2 ahead. So that means it's August. So August is the 8th month. 8th month? Okay. So 12th of August. I still don't know. Okay, can video games make kids more violent? Yes. If they have a mental disorder, or they are stupid. Now, the mental disorder one makes sense. People with autism are more impressionable, and that's not me making unfounded things. I do actually know things about autism. I've read into it before. And they are not exactly more impressionable, but they're able to become more set on a specific thing. Can video games make kids more violent? Yes, if they're young and they're stupid and their parents aren't watching, then definitely. A new study employing state-of-the-art brain scanning technology says the answer may be yes. Not it is yes, but it may be yes. Gotta remember that. Remember, no, sorry, researchers, I apparently can't read now that I've left school for a bit. Researchers at the Indiana University School of Medicine say that brain scan of kids played a violent video game showed an increase in emotional arousal. Yes, I explained that there, alright. And a corresponding decrease of activity in brain areas involved in self-control, inhibition, and attention. Right, okay, now that's different. But again, logically, if you're angry or you're frustrated because the game is just annoying you, like let's just say Super Meat Boy, because we can't say it's not violent because you are a piece of bloody meat that leaves a trail of blood behind you when you run. So blood, violence, you get it. That game is frustrating as all hell, not gonna lie. So corresponding decrease of activity in brain in areas involved in self-control. Now, you have seen people, like, they flat out like karate chop keyboards. They have, like, sliced them in half. They are broke out of just raw frustration. But I have never done that, okay? I have never done that. I don't think I've broke a controller ever. The only thing that I've maybe done is I guess I pushed the Wii remote buttons too hard, and now they kind of don't work as well, but it's also a Wii remote, so, you know, 2003 to 2010. So, you know, still use it though. So anyway, still frustration, I'm gonna say. I'm calling it frustration more than anything. Does this mean... Okay, I thought that said does this that, but no. Does this mean that your teenager will feel an uncontrollable urge to go on a shooting rampage after playing Call of Duty? Absolutely not. They'll just be frustrated that the game has horrible controls. I didn't want to point you out, Activision, but there you go. I mentioned your Call of Duty, that's what you get. Your controls aren't that good. Black Ops 1 and Black Ops 2 were nice. Black Ops 3 made me want to die. It was pretty bad. Like, I only played it on 360, but still, it was kind of horrible. Vince Matthews, Vice Principal Investigator, hesitates to make that leap. Yeah, okay, right. Let's just skip ahead a little bit because I don't have loads of time. They've got the answers at the ready for... Okay, here. Larry Lay, the director and coordinator for the Research for Successful Parenting, which funded Matthews' study, says that the purpose of the research was to help parents make informed decisions. Makes sense. There's enough data that clearly indicates that game violence is a problem. Okay, and it's not just a problem for kids with behavior disorders. Okay, that is absolutely great. Here's the thing, though. Does he... What games are we talking about? Because none have been specified other than Call of Duty, if, you know, for the shooting rampage anger thing. But basically, like, they don't... Yep, there's definitely ghosts. There's a lot of ghosts. Never believed in ghosts till now, but it's ghosts. It's a lot of ghosts. Right, so anyway, with this, like... first of all, I doubt that he's played a video game before in the sense that that's just the way that it's just the way they're talking about it. You know, it doesn't sound exactly entirely believable. Like, how do I explain it? In Rocket League, okay, I'm gonna say what JonTron said. It ceases to be fake in the mind of a player, okay? Meaning that it seems entirely possible that you could play football with cars. However, with this, you know, with it ceasing to feel completely fake, it also presents the idea of, hey, you could play car football if you wanted, but do you go and do that? You do not go and play football with your car after playing Rocket League because you're like, hey, this seems like a good idea, that can't possibly go wrong. Obviously will. You're playing football with cars, you know. Someone's gonna crash, someone's gonna die or break their neck or leg or whatever. It's football with cars. Rocket League is not realistic, obviously. So, the problem for kids with behavior disorders, yes, you should watch out for specific games. If you have a child, you are the one that controls what your child plays, or what you allow them to play. If they play video games at a friend's house, you know, fair play to them. They can do that unless you've told them specifically no. But you know, other than that, I don't think it's okay to fully monitor what your child does, and fully restrict them when they have the ability to do it. At the same time, you need to have some control over your child. Like, my brother plays way too much Fortnite. One time he just started screaming at me because his internet cut out. Except that was because the internet cut out all over the house. I don't remember why, but our connection did cut out. But basically what happened was he started screaming at me saying that it's all my fault because I also have a Wi-Fi booster in here, which will effectively just give me a stronger connection to my computer because it needs to be wired, so it's actually an Ethernet booster, moreover. But still, you know, my point still stands here. So basically, my brother, I'm pretty sure I just said his name earlier, but he's stupid, and he screamed at me. And you shouldn't be playing Fortnite because that caused him to scream. Like I said though, that will have been out of frustration, won't it? You know, with this frustration, just this little nub of frustration here and here. You see all that? That's pure evil that comes from Fortnite. Jesus, Fortnite is not that good. All right, so let's healthful. Hang on, I'm gonna Google if healthful is a word. Ah, good, it's actually a word. It seemed almost unrealistic. Healthful methods of cooking vegetables. Alright then. So I'm glad that I did that. I just saw that word and I felt like I had to. So let's quit using various Xboxes as babysitters instead of doing healthful activities. And you are not wrong. You have to do healthy stuff, but at the same time, if you want to play video games, then feel free. Just don't let it get in the way of anything else, or then it is literally an addiction. That's how the word addiction works. If it gets in the way of anything else, that's when it's an addiction, you know. Citing the growing epidemic of childhood obesity in the United States. They're blaming video games on obesity. No. They shouldn't be blaming that on obesity. And there's a reason for that. First of all, okay, obesity is oftentimes genetic. I have friends whose parents, I'm not going to say who because that would be offensive, but I have friends whose parents, well actually no, I'm not friends with them anymore, but point still stands. Their parents aren't exactly, we'll say they've got a much stockier build. They are, I don't know if they're overweight, but they are a lot bigger, we'll say, than someone of my stance. Because honestly, I'm 6'2", and I'm very, very skinny for someone that's like me. Okay, and that's fine. That's all nice stuff. But it is very genetic because my friend that came from that family, he was also a lot like his parents, obviously, because that's how genetics works. Now, funny thing about that is he was also a heavier build. and no one's made a scene about him for the obesity thing, so all fine. But you've got to remember, it can be genetic. Like, people just kind of forget about genetics when it comes to video games or overeating, etc., and they're blaming just people my age. I'm like, sorry? I'm sorry that there's people who can't help it? Like, ugh. But then, it says childhood obesity in the United States, and yes, this isn't the United States. Where I live, there is a high obesity rating. There are people who walk around with their gut hanging out. Now, you're saying it's the growing epidemic of childhood obesity. Childhood obesity is high in the US, as I have been brought to know. I don't know the exact statistics, but I know they're growing. Point is, I'm not saying it's video games. I don't think it is. I think it's the amount of food, the amount of fat in food, the types of food, the little amount of, of non-fatty foods, non-carbohydrate foods, and just, the amount of, it's the amount of carbohydrates, not carbohydrates, I can't speak. I believe carbohydrates is a word. I don't know, I'll have to Google that, but it's got a lot of carbohydrates in it, is my point. But, as you can see, I'm not blaming it on video games for good reason. I'm blaming it on food, something that has been around for a long time and does have proven effects. Video games, they don't cause the obesity. It's the food that you eat and then not burning it off that is the obesity. So it's not the video games that are doing it. They aren't the first-hand thing. Yes, they are a factor, but they aren't the problem. It's the food that people are eating and what they are eating that is contained within that food. It's like saying, okay, one sec. Okay, there we go. Right, this is a good one. So just down here, it's like saying a soccer game or football game makes kids more aggressive, which is true. Soccer and football, or in our case, football and American football, because I am English. I'm sorry for all, the slapping noises. I've got this little book with little game ideas in it that I've just kind of got hold of now, and I don't know what to do with it because I keep putting it down and picking it up, and I've just picked it up again just so I can explain it to you, but you can't see it, so it doesn't matter. But it's like saying a soccer or football game makes kids more aggressive. It does. I have seen it, and that's because people have little to no self-control, and that was the book again. And it can make people more aggressive with little self-control, okay? That makes sense. You've got to have some self-control. It's like eating, As soon as once you've ate enough, or what you think is a suitable amount, stop eating, or else you will begin to gain unnecessary weight. Or another thing, if you don't want to eat because you think you're gaining too much weight, you've got to know how much you should be eating rather than eating too little, because that is still technically an excess, which in this case is an excess of nothing. It's just it's absolutely baffling that people are still blaming video games. I'm going to stop here, but it's baffling that people are still doing this. Also, it's on NBC. Why am I not surprised? But yeah, it's baffling that people are still doing this. I know this was 2006, but it has been 40 years since the origin of video games, and I mean, sure, 40 years is not a big amount of time. It sounds it, but trust me, it is not. These past years just whoosh, they've just went past for me. So I have a a first-hand account of why 40 years is not a long time, but my point still stands. This has been going on for, it's usually when something's first done. So I don't know, let's just say newspapers. No one thinks that newspapers are a problem anymore, do they? They don't say that, oh, it's killing being social and stuff, because they're not. They're just news sources. Not always viable news sources. Sometimes are. I've been in a newspaper before, that was kind of fun. But, it's not killing anything. It's just being a media form. I don't get it. I don't get what the point is. Why would you try to, monitor, video games in saying that? I don't get it. It's stupid. It's just... Gonna end this here. I'm really frustrated again. This brain right now, this is me after reading this. Except everything's red. This is genuinely painful to read at some points. Like in the interviews, it's always like a very one-sided argument, unless they bring in someone who's against. No, if they bring in someone who's alright with violent video games. But with this, it's like it's balanced in some way. At the same time, just seeing this first bit makes you want to die a little bit. Like, just seeing this made me want to die a little bit inside, and I'm like, oh, yep, they're showing the brain thing. Like, Jesus Christ, I've got to end this here. I'm getting really frustrated, and I'm talking about it still, so I'll just stop.